Let's get a quick take on the 5-year anniversary of the Aurora movie theater shooting, killing 12 people and injuring over 50 others. Plans for a permanent memorial are moving forward, with a reflection garden slated for completion in May of 2018. Patty Cahoon from Westward, this was an event that has changed Colorado in many different ways, and at least hopefully we're going to see this memorial garden, or the reflection garden, done by next May. But I guess a part of me was surprised that we haven't seen it yet. As we look at the 5-year anniversary, what are your thoughts?
Well, let's remember Columbine's memorial didn't come that quickly either.
True.
And we will never forget Columbine, just like we won't forget this shooting. But what we also have to remember is this is one of the real true terrorisms we have to worry about. It's our homegrown terrorists that need mental health, that aren't getting the mental health they need. And that is certainly one of the moves we've seen since the Aurora Theater shooting, is more emphasis statewide on funding for mental health.
David Copel from the Independence Institute and DU Law School, what would you point to as some of the bigger impacts from this event 5 years ago?
Well, I'm not sure we had any big impacts. We had, as Patty said, it raised awareness of the mental health issue. Now, this particular criminal, since he was a student at CIO, actually had access to mental health help, but 20% of people in state prisons for homicide are severely mentally ill, according to the studies. And it's a terrible way to deal with that problem. And I think Governor Hickenlooper was right. We need more resources on it. We've made some small steps in that regard, but there's much, much further to go, including having inpatient treatment available to the people who know they're decompressing and want to get the treatment and check themselves in, and far too often they're turned away because there are no beds available.
Eric Sondron, political analyst, this event did, I'm not sure if I say radically, but it significantly changed and affected the Colorado political scene. The whole recall effort came about through all the different laws and bills that came from as a response to this event. As you look back politically, what are some of the bigger impacts you've seen?
I think you just nailed it in your question, Dominic. It led, predictably so, and perhaps appropriately so, that is in the eye of the beholder, to the legislation that a Democratic legislature with a Democratic governor passed. Those 3 gun bills, David, help me, 2013?
2013, yes.
2013. And then the counter reaction to that with the recalls of Senator Morse and Senator Hiron from Pueblo, the Democrats then losing control of the state Senate to give the Republicans again a toehold, a small toehold, but a toehold at the state capitol. And I think a lot of that dates to July 20th, 2012 in Aurora. I'm left, I mean, we were halfway around the world when this happened, and obviously it was one of those moments that you remember forever. I'm just left with the randomness of these events, and I mean, obviously the sadness and the tragedy, but just the randomness, and Colorado is all too familiar with them.
John Bowman, reporter at 5 Points News. There were various issues that came out of this, whether it was talking about mental health, how we approached a movie theater, everything from gun control and politics and everything in between. As you look at the impact 5 years later, what stands out to you?
Well, what stands out to me is one of the victims in this case. You know, he was shot, and he made a good comeback. Got married, put out a book, made a lot of money on speaking tours, but he hired a bad agent. And that agent has really made him a double victim of sorts, because he ripped off most of the money that this kid had. I just think, you know, after doing a 14-hour shift outside of his apartment on Peoria and 17th, it was just one of those situations where you look at this whole incident, and as Patty mentioned, you know, we talk about terrorism, we talk about urban terrorism, all these different things. But if somebody is Islamic or Muslim, they're a terrorist. If they're black or brown, they're a thug. If they're white, they've got mental illnesses. And this guy should be treated like a terrorist, as far as I'm concerned.